Welcome to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm Woody Zimmerman here with Mark Skabowski of Remax Lakes. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing fine. We talking off the air a little bit just about what it takes to get into a home, buy a property, and so forth. And I know you brought in some different ways that you can actually get that down payment and get into a property.
Yeah. So, one method is using money from your 401k.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't recommend this,
Mm-hmm.
but it is a method.
Yeah.
And the reason that I don't recommend it is, my generation, us old folks, long-term vision, right? Long-term savings.
Yeah.
You invest in that. You continue to monitor it because that's for retirement.
Right.
That money that you're putting in there is for retirement.
Right.
It's not to buy a home. It's not a forced savings plan. It's not where you ought to be saving. If you listen to Smart Money Management.
I was going to say, I wonder what Alan and Mike would say right now. Yeah,
exactly. They'll talk about, having an emergency fund, a short-term emergency fund.
Yeah.
They'll have, maybe some longer-term planning, and then you've got your retirement planning. Well, my advice is not to use your 401k for that short-term emergency fund.
Mm-hmm.
That, hey, I'm buying a house today. Can it be used? Yes, it can. That you can take a loan or make a withdrawal from your 401k in order to purchase a home. Although, disclaimer, talk to your financial planner. There can be penalties. There can be a lot of negatives beyond the fact that you're not going to have money saved for retirement if you pull it out and use it to purchase a home.
See, I did not know that you could use, I imagine that there's different 401ks have different rules.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't pretend to be an expert on this topic. I know that I've had clients that have had closings delayed because they're waiting for their 401k funds to get there.
Yeah.
Because they operate on their own set of guidelines. Now, again, and off the air, when we moved here, we had a house in Michigan that hadn't sold, and we wanted to buy here. Well, creatively, we did take some 401k withdrawals, and at the time, you could have the money out of the account for 60 days.
Okay.
So we had two 401ks, so we took it out of mine, and at 59 days, we took out of my wife's and put back into mine. Right? So at least the money was back there. Now we have 59 days to put it back in her account, or 60 days.
Yeah, so you have no penalty.
No penalty. Because you can do what you want, but there's penalties. There's always barnacles attached to it.
Yeah.
There's always some negatives to it.
Right.
So the only thing I would say is if that's your only option, it's not your only option. There are other types of programs that you can purchase without withdrawing from your 401k. Now, every financial situation is different. Everybody's income is different. I mean, all of those things come into play to the programs that you're qualified to apply for. And so why did we do what we did when we bought? Because our income level was such to where any of the other programs wouldn't have worked for us.
Right. Okay.
It just would not have worked. They wouldn't approve me. I've got a house in Michigan and I'm buying a house here.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't have enough credit.
Yeah.
Right. The only way I could do it was I had good credit. They'd approved me for the amount, but I didn't have down payment. I didn't have closing costs. I didn't have that other stuff.
Yeah.
They'd approved me for whatever.
Right.
But I couldn't get over the hump to buy it. So that's why we had to use the money out of that 401k.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. So I remember when I was buying my second home, I had just paid off my first home, and I had no car loans, and my credit card was paid off. Okay. And so the mortgage originator said, your credit score is like in the 700s. If you want to get it back to the 800s, you need, take out a loan. Like you can increase your credit.
No sense.
I'm like, wait a minute. I paid my stuff off.
Right.
And so, my credit score is lower. So it's interesting how that.
It's interesting how it works.
Yeah, right.
I know. And what prompted this discussion, people using their 401k is the average 401k balance by age, and I got to look at this, and this is as of the start of 23. So Gen Z, $7,100. Millennials, $44,900. Gen Xers, $145,000, and then Boomers, $215,000. in their 401k. That's the average 401k balance. Now, obviously, it fluctuates based on, things. And this is not a measure or a measuring stick, but sometimes it's interesting just to see, hey, where am I at in this grand scheme with others in my age group? I'm in the boomer edition,
and I'm in the Gen Xer.
So am I about the average? Am I above average? I always like to excel. You want to be above average. In this case, we've done okay.
Yeah.
We've set money aside, but still, even if you've got that amount of money sitting there to take it out and use it for a home, now you're starting from zero again. You're starting from zero, going back to zero. And after the break, I'll tell a little story about some sales training I went to with Zig Ziglar and an illustration he put out there.
Yeah.
The man.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
All right, looking forward to that. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Welcome back. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm Woody Zimmerman here with Mark Skabowski, and we just went over what the average 401k person in the different generations, Gen Z to Boomers, have in their account. Boomers have like $215,000. This is on average.
Yeah, right.
And then Gen Z's got about $7,100. That seems about right.
Yep.
But you mentioned that you were going to talk about Zig Ziglar. He went through a little workshop that you were at.
So I went to some sales training, which is crazy. We're talking sales training and we're talking about money, right? We're talking about wealth and all that. But that's kind of Zig, that was his long-term thing, is how are you a better person?
Mm-hmm.
And that's so there's two things I took out of this whole sales rally.
Yeah.
One was he told a story about with his wife, he always opened the car door for his wife.
Yeah.
Always open a door. Now again, some may say that's sexist, some say whatever it is. But that was his way of showing respect for his spouse.
Right, yeah.
And, I had open doors, always for people. I'm trying to be respectful of people.
Yeah.
But that hit home with me.
Oh, yeah.
So, to me, when my now son-in-law came over to pick my daughter up for their first date, when she got in the car, he opened the door. I thought, that's a fine young man.
Seems like a good guy.
And Zig talked about that. Zig Ziglar talked about those things. Just how do you respect people? How do you treat people? All of those things. To me, that stuck with me. I still, to this day, I open the door for my mom, for my sister, for whatever. Would I open the door for you, Woody? Nope, you're on your own. Sorry. And again, that may be sexist, but it's just a respect for women. That's, my generation. It's ingrained in us.
I do it for my wife.
Yeah,
so.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. So the other thing he talked about, and this was an illustration about savings, and he started on the left-hand side of the stage, and he said, if you had $1, in 20 days, I can show you how to be a millionaire.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, wow, hey, and everybody in the stadium perked up, because this was at the Palace Auburn Hills, is where this thing was. So 20,000 people or 18,000, whatever. Yeah. Everybody set up like, whoa, hey, how am I going to be a millionaire?
Yeah.
Started at the left side of the stage. He says, okay, I got $1. Now the next day I've got $2. So he put $2 in the bank.
Okay.
The next day, $4. The next day, $8. Basically, you double your money every day for 20 days, and you have $1 million. And he's walking across the stage. He's got milestones across the stage, 20 of them. Well, he gets out to where he's got, I don't know, it's day whatever, and he's got, $5,000 in his hands.
Okay.
And he buys a new car. And to buy the new car, he's got to take the $5,000 out of the bank. So what's he do? He walks back across to zero.
You're back to zero.
Got to start at zero again. So how am I going to be a millionaire? Well, 20 days I can be. But I've got to double my money each time.
Mm-hmm.
And he did this a couple of different times. These milestones in our lives, right? I'm saving for a car, I'm back to zero. Saving for kids' college education, start spending, I'm back to zero. So that, in general, is a story where, can you ever be a millionaire? Yeah, you just have to be disciplined and not take it all out when you do it. And consistent saving. So it only takes 28 days if you do that with a penny.
Yeah.
If you do it with a penny, you can be a millionaire in 28 days if you did it with a penny. Now, and I know your face is like, right. I put it in Excel and I created a spreadsheet and it works.
and I see it,
but I can't believe it.
right. It'd be nice if I could take $335,000
Yeah,
and put it in the bank
and double it the next day.
and double it the next
right?
day.
And
Right.
that's the unrealistic part about it. But the point is well taken.
Yeah.
Is if you're consistent. Now we're not talking 21 days. There's no short way to get there, but consistently over time and not going back to zero.
Yeah.
Every time it turns around. That's what you have to. So you know what? And we all need to reward ourselves. I can remember the first time I really made any kind of money, and I wanted to buy a boat. And at the time, $3,000 boat. Now again, this is in the 80s. I bought this used old Checkmate 15-footer. Had this big monstrosity Mercury motor on it. Never ran right, but it ran. I could make it run.
Yeah.
I paid cash for that. So I'd taken $3,000 out, and I bought this boat. Occasionally, you need to reward yourself. You know, when I'm kicking myself, man, I just spent $3,000, and it's not really what I thought it was going to be. And my stepmom said, "You know what, Mark? You work hard. You need to reward yourself. But remember." You need to keep some set aside. So don't always reward yourself today.
Yeah.
You need to save for that retirement.
Sure.
Which is why saving and pulling it out of your 401k in the long term is not the best option. There are other options that are available for down payment assistance for buying a home. And, you know, every year we have to do continuing ed through the Board of Realtors.
Yep.
I just did mine, and I heard about some programs that I had never heard about before.
Okay.
It's state mandated. It's governed by the state.
Okay.
It's IHDC. It's Indiana Housing Development Corporation. They help with down payment assistance. They have first-time homebuyer programs. They have people that are move-up buyers or step-up buyers. There's all these different programs that are available for down payment assistance that if you go to IN.gov or you just Google IHDC programs, you can see that. If somebody had any questions, I'd be happy to learn along with you. I don't pretend to be an expert. I've got the bullet points on the highlights.
Yeah.
But the fact is, and that isn't the only way to purchase, but if you're struggling with saving for down payment, if you in general, and there's income requirements, so like I say, there's always stipulations there.
Right.
But on the first time home buyer program, they can contribute up to 6% of your down payment.
Oh, wow.
For the Next Step program, they can contribute between 2.5% and 3.5% for your down payment.
Yeah.
Again, income related. If you're making, six figures, not likely you're going to get it.
Right.
But in fact, you're not going to get it. It's not likely. It's just not going to happen. But the options are there.
There are creative ways you could make it. If you want to make it happen, there's creative ways that you can make it happen. No,
absolutely.
Good stuff. Very good stuff. Hey, if you want to continue this conversation with Mark, make sure you reach out. Your contact info.
Sure. So my phone number is 574-527-0660. Emails mark@skabowskiteam.com. Again, these programs, happy to point you in the right direction. Anybody listening, watching, feel free to reach out.
All right, very good. You've been listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.